Ambassador, thank you very much for talking to us today. First of all, do you have a message for the family of Dawn Sturgess?
I don't think that I have a message, but I will say that it's a tragic death. It's already, it is of course sad, and I can also repeat that Russia has nothing to do with it, and we have carefully explained to Dawn Sturgess. His name is Tom Rowley. He was at the embassy soon after the events, and he got a full explanation.
I mean, you've said the Skripal, all the events that led to Dawn's tragic death were a very staged, multi-stage operation designed by a very talented dramatist. I think that you said that a couple of years ago. Do you have any evidence? That's an extraordinary and very bold claim. Do you have any evidence to back that up?
This so-called investigation, public investigation, has just reconfirmed an old version of what has happened, and we are still very much convinced that it is carefully staged provocation by British services, which are capable to do that, and it's a common knowledge that they are doing all around the world. And the first question, of course, if you are asking, is who take advantage of that in 2018? Whether it was Russia to have a big political scandal just on the eve of the World Championship, which was for the first time in Russia, and coming presidential elections, of course not. But if you will take a situation in the United Kingdom, then a crisis after Brexit, amid a crisis, British government, Theresa May, has happened to be in an internal crisis right after Brexit, soon after Brexit, and it was a difficult situation for her. What was the achievement by this provocation? Yes, they have done it. They have, of course, distracted attention of British public from the difficult situation, a crisis situation, and Theresa May has gained international authority across in the country and across Europe.
So you're saying the British government had a motive to do this?
Absolutely.
But what's your evidence that the British government staged the attempted murder of guests on its own?
It is highly likely, like it is stated in it, it is highly likely that who staged, who is behind that, all of that.
But on the other hand, there's plenty of evidence that two men who, by all accounts, were Russian military intelligence agents, there's travel records, passport records that they came to Britain. They went to Salisbury just before the poisonings happened. They were caught on CCTV footage there. They then left. The nerve agent that was used, according to the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons that Russia is a member of, was verified to be Novichok, a nerve agent invented by Russia and possessed only by Russia. The evidence that suggests Russia was involved is fairly overwhelming. You're presenting no evidence to back up your claim, it seems, apart from a
that, as I have said, that this script is very elaborated. It has been done by very talented professionals. That is no way. It is very much, however, it is a bit outdated. It reminds me of Ian Fleming or even Agatha Christie, the talented books about that. Just common sense, from the position of common sense, just imagine to such an elaborate and absolutely unreliable way to do this, to put some substances on the door handle and expecting a result, and then it will evaporate. I will not go into details. And suddenly the medical professional is nearby. All of these details, I think that professionals will die of laughing.
But do you honestly believe that these two men went from Russia all the way to Salisbury just to go sightseeing, when they clearly were members of the Russian military intelligence?
I have no idea. I have come later on. I have seen it from the Moscow point of view, what has happened. And I will tell you very frankly that it is no other person in the world is eager but my government to know what really has happened in this case, why it has happened, what are the consequences, why it has been revealed today. Why it has been revealed today once again, all this old version. I can imagine why. Because it is happening right now amid another very interesting and important event in the world. And by this, I think that British government would like to derail peace talks, very interesting and very in a high stage of, I would conversation, that's important. The other thing is to create a background, necessary background for this derailing of the peace talks, which will lead to settlement, probably will lead to settlement, and also to, as it has been written in today's Times, it is to create a background for seizure and stealing of Russian money here in Great Britain. Of course, it is to show that here is the aggressor, here is our enemy, we are going to steal money. It's a pity that they are using the tragic death of Dawn Sturgess it's appalling, I will say, that they're using tragic death of Dawn Sturgess for this purpose.
Can I ask you,
it is
Gabriel,
if they don't have other men, but it is dancing of the graves.
But do you believe that these two Russians went to Salisbury to go sightseeing? And when all the evidence is
I have
that
no
they
idea.
left,
I have never been in Salisbury. What is interesting?
but you're saying the government would like to be involved in the investigation. Why not investigate these two men who went to Salisbury
we suggested
and apparently
many
took a nerve
times.
agent with
We suggested very many times to British government to have a cooperation on this issue, to investigate it together, to understand what has happened, in order but it was all rejected, absolutely. About Novichok, it was rejected in The Hague, it was rejected in UK, it was rejected in Berlin, so we have no means simply to understand
that Russia's a member of, verified that Novichok was used in Salisbury, and that's only invented by the Russians, only possessed by the Russians, isn't it?
No, come on.
How do you explain that?
It happened that a lot of Novichok happens to be in Porton-Down. Why and how? And how can they compare it with? So we have very many questions.
So that it was taken from Porton-Down to Salisbury and used to poison.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But it was recognized that an amount of Novichok is in Porton-Down during that time.
But and you believe it was taken from there to poison the Skripals?
No. I'm just saying that British government is in possession of Novichok for this purpose. But all of these issues, all these questions, all these inconsequences, we have put it in the written form to British government, and we have sent it. There are some attempts in this inquiry to answer questions that we have put, but the answers there is simple and absolutely unconvincing that it is really doesn't worth it. If there is a desire, we will send our questions once again, and we will request answers. We will ask for answers. Please answer us about all these inconsistencies in this version over there.
Who do you expect people listening to believe? A Russian ambassador who is presenting an argument that the British government was behind this with no evidence, or the British government that has a whole raft of evidence implicating two Russian military agents, travel records, passport records, CCTV footage of them, evidence from the OPCW implicating Russia in the use of a nerve agent in the UK. Who do you expect people watching to believe?
Well, I believe in the common sense of British people in the first place. Second, I do not want to go into details because the details that you are mentioning, they are contained in questions that we have put forward to it. We suggest that to get right answers on all these things. But as I have said, Russia has nothing to do with that. And if British government is interested to establish with us what has happened, what are the reasons, what is the consequences, I explained it to you. We need a cooperation for that. We understand now motives very clearly of what has happened in 2018 or what is happening now today in November 2025 and why it happened now, why, because, and the reasons for it, as I explained it to you.
Well, it happened now because it was an inquiry and the findings of the inquiry have come out now. An independent inquiry into the death of Dawn Sturgess. That's the timing.
The conclusions of independent inquiry is based on the statement by one governmental official. He is from the Foreign Office, and he didn't said anything certain. We have read it. He said that perhaps and highly likely, and it could be, and all of that stuff. And on that basis, Lord Hughes has made a conclusion that Russia is behind of that.
You were summoned to the Foreign Office yesterday. What was the message given to you in that meeting?
The message was, as I have said, nothing new in comparison to the readout of the leaflet that has been published by the UK government. My answer was simple. We understand the reason. We understand the reason because you would like to derail, actually, the efforts that are being taken right now in order to settle Ukrainian conflict. It will be a big strike to it, just to show to the United States that, there are difficulties with Russia, you should not believe it, and all of that stuff. So there are a lot of spy stories.
Talking about Ukraine, I mean, yesterday your president said that if Ukraine doesn't give up the Donbass, he will take it by force.
That's absolutely right.
By what right can he just take the sovereign territory of a neighbor?
By what right? It's a long story. If you would like to have it is right now. So we did have a problem with Ukraine because the war did not start in 2002. The war has started 10 years earlier against Russian people and Russia, against those who are speaking Russians in the east of the country by Ukrainian forces. We didn't have other means how to help them, and we continue to help them. It's not about territories at all. It's about people to save the lives and language of those who are speaking Russian on these territories.
The head of the Ukrainian armed forces has told Sky News today it would be unacceptable to simply give up territory as demanded by Vladimir Putin. I mean, that's fair enough, isn't it? It is, after all, Ukrainian territory, not Russian.
Well, as we have said, it is in accordance with our constitution that we have taken Russian people living on this territory under our umbrella. And of course, we are helping these people, and we will continue to do that, preventing them from discrimination that has been done by the Nazi regime in Kiev.
I mean, the war that your president started by invading Ukraine, it could end tomorrow, couldn't it, if he just ordered his armed forces to leave Ukraine?
It will be ended tomorrow if Ukrainian forces will leave Donbass.
Or if Russia left Ukraine?
Russia is not going to leave Ukraine. We cannot leave Russian speaking and Russian people for the mercy of Nazi regime in Kiev, which has banished yesterday Russian language in the parliament from the protection of the Council of Europe agreements on that side. Even banishing language, prohibiting church that the majority of Ukrainians are visiting over there, Russian speaking and not only Russian speaking,
I mean,
prohibiting language, prohibiting education and all that stuff. But this is not the purpose of our interview.
But no, I want to ask you as a very seasoned, decorated, experienced diplomat, do you think this peace process that is involving Stephen Witkoff and Jared Kushner and multi-different tracks, is it going to achieve peace, do you think? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, if UK government and other European government will not create too many obstacles, like yesterday they have warned Zelensky that he should not surrender, that he should not go into peaceful conditions. Of course, we will try to achieve the result, but it's extremely difficult. There could be a framework for an agreement, but this framework will require laying it out in legal diplomatic language. So it's a serious work, but by that we will resolve the main problem, the problem of existential security threat to the Russian Federation.
And is all this worth the death or injury of as many as 1 million Russians? I mean, is it worth that? Because Russia has lost a huge amount of lives and seen so many of its soldiers maimed and injured.
We do not talk about in these terms about losses and so on, but the only example, recent example that we have handed to Ukrainian side recently, 9,000 bodies, and in return we have got something around 30.
You just said that Russia would end the war if Ukraine left the Donbass. Is that your government's position? That's all it will take?
Absolutely. It's what the president has said.
Because the big fear amongst Ukrainians, but also in Baltic nations, is that Vladimir Putin will not stop there. He might stop there for a few years, but he will then move on and take the whole of Ukraine, which he has said in numerous speeches doesn't really have a right to exist. Why do you think he's going to stop in the Donbass?
Once again, I have to repeat that we have no plan, no reason or anything else to start the war with NATO at all.
But do you think he would then move on and take the whole of Ukraine? Because he has made it pretty clear he doesn't think Ukraine has a right to exist.
Well, the President has stated our position a year ago, and even before, and we did not deviate from this position.
How do you feel personally? I mean, so many people here are worried about the possibility of a looming conflict at some point with Russia in the approaching future. Does that concern you as well? I mean, you've been a diplomat, I think, since 1979, so You've seen threats of war come and go. Are you filled with worry and anxiety about the future at the moment as well?
We feel worried because of these remilitarization slogans pronounced in many European capitals who do not want to understand what is happening right now, what has happened before, and what is the real situation. Yeah, there are appeals from the generals or ministers of defense who, of course, have to implement what they are supposed to appeal to. But really, the common sense also should lead us that we have to resolve for us one problem, trying to make out of Ukraine a breakthrough instrument to Russia. It is threatening right now. If we are resolving this problem, then we have no other reasons to continue all of that stuff. We need to settle it once and forever and have an inclusive agreement about European security, normal and reliable and long-term.
But as things stand, the way things are going currently, do you think we are getting closer to a wider conflict?
This is what we are talking about with Americans. And Americans are talking with Ukrainians. And I hope that out of these conversations, long conversations, talk conversations, the better understanding will come, and we will come to something.
How worried are you by the way things are going currently?
All the time. How worried I am personally, living in this country, reading the articles that Russian spies are nearly here at every house. Of course I am worried.
But are you worried about the possibility of a wider conflict engulfing Europe?
Well, I'm worried about the mood that is now in the political circles of United Kingdom about Russia. This is worries me because they are trying to paint us as a main threat, as an adversary, which is not the case. We do not represent any threat to the United Kingdom.
But to Europe, do you think there's a chance?
Either to Europe.
Is there a chance, though, a greater chance now of war between Europe and Russia than there's been in your career?
Yes, of course. Listening to all these statements about the need to prepare for a war, like our president has said recently, 2 days ago, that we do not want to wage a war against Europe, but if Europe would like to wage a war against Russia, then we are prepared right now.
That sounds pretty belligerent, I think, to European ears, doesn't it?
It's normal. And how she should react?
Well, it's the Russian president saying, if you want war, I'm ready for it.
That's all right. What should he say? That we are not ready. We are ready.
But it sounds threatening, I think, to European ears, don't you think?
No. Do you hear what he is saying? That if Europe would like to wage a war against Russia, which happened many times in our history, then we are prepared.
Do you think Europe does want to wage war on Russia?
But we are going in circles right now, so it has no interest.
But from what you're hearing from European diplomats and the mood in the UK, do you think Europe is looking for war with Russia?
Diplomats are not saying it. It is, as I have said, these are generals and ministers of defense, sometimes some politicians and all that stuff.
Ambassador, thank you very much.